All right, Nora, the polar bear, is back at the Oregon Zoo now, getting familiar with her new exhibit, Polar Passage.
And she hasn't made her big public debut just yet, but she will soon as we continue our Countdown to Nora series. And today I'm taking you behind the scenes at her new habitat to learn how Nora is helping scientists make some important discoveries. Without even knowing it, Nora provides so much joy to everyone that has the pleasure of seeing her. But she also provides a learning opportunity.
Our ultimate goal is for everybody who walks through the door and sees Nora to think about polar bears, to start caring about polar bears, learning more about what the threats are to polar bears and the threats to polar bears that we share in terms of climate change.
Though Nora doesn't live with an icy Arctic backdrop, curators and conservationists want visitors to keep the dangers of climate change in mind when they see Nora.
What I also want people to do is connect with the fact that climate change is affecting us too. Polar bears are just the example because they live in a place where warming is a real problem.
Aside from conservation science, Nora is also helping researchers learn a lot about polar bears with innovative studies happening only in Portland.
We have the only metabolic swim chamber for polar bears in the world. And we built that when Nora was here. And she actually participated in that project, and it's now published in a scientific journal.
The two wave pools Nora will splash around in will serve another purpose.
It's called an endless pool motor, and it generates a current. So we can look at what she's doing when the motor is off and she's holding still and how many calories that takes. And then we can turn on the motor so she has to move and dive and stay put. And so we can look at an active versus an inactive state and start to really put a number on how many calories is it costing bears to swim.
Nora swims into sealed chambers where scientists can observe how her body works.
Scientists can set up a piece of equipment that looks at the changeover from oxygen to CO2 as she's in there swimming.
They say that's important because it gives researchers a better idea of what polar bears are up against out in the wild.
As their environment changes and there's bigger and bigger swaths of open water, we know that that's going to impact them. We just want to understand how bears are navigating that in the wild, what's going to happen, and what steps we can make in the meantime.
We've told you before that the zoo plans to bring in another adult female polar bear to join Nora sometime in the fall. But even now, Nora isn't the only bear on the block. Well, sort of. This new 9-foot-tall sculpture is called the Melting Ice Bear. The cast aluminum artwork is intended to raise awareness about climate change and the effect it has on polar bears. Scientists say global warming reduces Arctic sea ice, and polar bears struggle to find and catch food. You can see the new statue at the Polar Passage exhibit. And as you funnel through the zoo to visit Nora, the zoo hopes you'll leave with a new perspective.
With any luck, those people are leaving here thinking, we got to change the way we do things because we want a better world for polar bears and a better world for us.